Gaviiformes is an order of aquatic birds containing the loons or divers and their closest extinct relatives. Modern Gaviiformes are found in many parts of North America and northern Eurasia and debatably Africa, though prehistoric species were more widespread. There are 5 living species and all are placed in the genus Gavia. The loons were formerly often considered to be the most ancient of the Northern Hemisphere bird families. This idea grew basically out of the perceived similarity of shape and probably habits between loons and the entirely unrelated extinct Cretaceous order Hesperornis. In particular, Enaliornis, which was apparently an ancestral and plesiomorphic member of that order, was sometimes used to support claims of Albian early Cretaceous Gaviiformes. More recently, it has become clear that the Anseriformes, waterfowl, and the Galliformes are the most ancient groups of modern birds, and these being distinct by the end of the Albian 100 million years ago, while just possible, is not at all well supported. Loons belong to a more modern radiation. They were once believed to be related to grebes, which are also foot-propelled diving birds, and both groups were once classified together under the order Colymbiformes. However, as recently as the 1930s, it was determined that the two groups are not that closely related at all and are merely the product of convergent evolution and adapted in a similar way to a similar ecological niche. The similarity is so strong that even the most modern cladistic analyses of general anatomical features are easily misled into grouping loons and grabe. The Sibley Alquist taxonomy still allied the loons with the grebes in its massively paraphyletic Sequorniiformes, and it is almost certain that the relationships of loons lie with some of the orders placed therein. Namely, other recent authors have considered loons to share a rather close relationship with seabirds, such as penguins, tubinoses, waders, and perhaps the newly discovered clade Narandonithes, which unites grebes and their closest living relatives, the flaming relatives for Phanicopteriformes. It is perhaps notable that some early penguins had skulls and beaks that were in many aspects similar to those of the known living and fossil Gaviiformes. In prehistoric times, the loons had a more southerly distribution than today, and their fossils have been found in places such as California, Florida, and Italy. The conflicting molecular data regarding their relationships is not much resolved by the fossil record, though they seem to have originated at the end of the late Cretaceous, like their presumed relatives. Modern loons are only known with certainty since the Eocene. By that time, almost all modern bird orders are at least strongly suspected to have existed, if not known from unequivocally identified specimens anyway. The oldest known stem Gaviiform is Nascidites from the early Eocene-aged London clay of England, dating to around 55 million years ago. Colymboids is widely known from early Priavonian, about 37 million years ago in the late Eocene, to early Miocene limnic and marine rocks of western Eurasia north of the Alpide belt, between the Atlantic and the former Turgay Sea. It is usually placed in the Gaviidae already, but usually in a subfamily Colymboidinae, with the modern type loons making up the Gaviinae. But the colymboids material is generally quite distinct from modern loons and may actually belong in a now extinct family of primitive Gaviiformes. Furthermore, the supposed genus could well be paraphyletic, so that, for example, Dispatornis, which is now contained therein, might have to be separated again. A leg of an undescribed small diver was found in the late Oligocene deposits at Inspel, Germany. It too may or may not belong to colymboids. Of the crown genus Gavia, nearly 10 prehistoric species have been named to date, and about as many undescribed ones await further study. The genus is known from the early Miocene onwards, and the oldest members of them are rather small. Some are smaller than the red-throated loon. Throughout the late Neogene, the genus by and large follows Cope's rule. Some older fossils are sometimes assigned to the Gaviiformes. From the late Cretaceous, the genera Lonchodites, Lance Formation, Wyoming, and Neogaionis, Quinriquina Formation, Chile, had been described. Both are usually allied with orders which are considered related to loons. In particular, the latter is still sometimes explicitly proposed as a primitive loon, as they both were initially, but other authors consider Gaviiformes a Hesperornithomer. Note, however, that neither Gaviiformes nor Hesperornithiformes are known from the southern hemisphere or anywhere near it. Longitudinales was more certainly quite close to loons, but probably closer still to some of the loons' relatives, the Opteronis from the Paleocene of Chalons, sur Vizsla, France. Has some features reminiscent of loons, but others seem more similar to Charadriiformes, such as gulls, Florida. A piece of Carpometacarpus, supposedly from Oligocene rocks near Lusk, Wyoming, was described as Gaviella pusula, but this hand bone also shows some similarities to the Plutopterids, which were flightless wing propelled divers, and if these are apomorphic, would make an unconvincing member of the Gaviidae, while the Carpometacarpus in Gavia is somewhat convergent to that of wing-propelled divers, enabling the wings to be used as rudders for quick underwater turns. Columboids still had an unspecialized plesiomorphic hand. Parascaniornis, sometimes allied to the loons by early authors, was eventually determined to be a junior synonym of the Hesperornithiform baptinus. A supposed mid-Eocene diver fossil from Gieseltal, Garpany, was erroneously assigned to Gavia. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to please like and subscribe. If you have a topic you would like to suggest, leave a comment.